Hi there. Welcome to the fifth unit of study, Understanding Individual Differences and How These Affect Relationships and Performance at Work. In this unit, you'll learn about individual differences within the workplace, how to recognize them, and how to work with them to develop truly effective working relationships. You'll learn about goal setting and empowerment techniques to motivate individuals and teams. Managing performance is often difficult. Hence, techniques to motivate your team and bring out the very best in everyone, as well as the various factors that contribute to an empowering workplace environment, will be outlined. There are as many individual differences in people as there are fish in the sea. Different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different everything. Even within the same species, there are immense variations. No two people are exactly the same, and that's why we'll never know what they're thinking or feeling or why they're behaving the way they do. Even though we may empathize with them and want to understand them completely, we can't. However, that's where you as a coach come in. This is your role, to try as best you can to understand where your client is coming from, understand their situation and needs, and help them achieve their goals. That's your challenge. In this unit, we're going to look at personality traits, personality types, and what makes each of us unique. Let's start by looking at personality profiling. Knowing your own and your client's personality preferences helps you to do a number of things. Understand your own natural behavioral tendencies and how to meet your individual needs. Adapt your situation to improve communication and relationships with your clients and create win-win solutions. Practice different behaviors so you can be more adaptable when it's appropriate to do so. Increase your adaptability and relationship effectiveness. Work with others so they can learn to be more adaptable with each other. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator is a well-known personality profiling tool. It characterizes the general population into 16 personality types, leading to numerous combinations. The 16 types are along 4 continuums: introverted-extroverted, sensing-intuiting, thinking and feeling, and judging and perceiving. These terms are not all how we typically think of them. Suffice to say that using this tool helps us to identify people and how they take in information from the world, how detailed they need the information to be, what they do with it when they're making decisions, and whether they are more spontaneous or planful. Another well-known and widely used personality profiling tool is the DISC, which stands for the dimensions it identifies in people: dominant, influential, steady, and conscientious. Using the survey instrument, the accredited user can discover the type of personality of his client and receive a detailed report with suggestions for how the client might improve in certain areas. Inventory is another This starts a discussion around issues of power, control and influence, risk and risk-adverse behaviors, as well as interpersonal concerns about interactions with family, friends, and co-workers. The Lifestyles Inventory is another well-known personality profiling instrument that's based on the use of constructive behaviors, such as the need for achievement and affiliation. You'll remember we talked about McClelland's needs for achievement, affiliation, and power in a previous unit. This instrument also measures the degree to which people engage in what they call passive defensive and aggressive defensive behaviors. As you'll see from this profile, we all do need to be cautious in some parts of our life and competitive in others. So we don't want these two areas to show zero behaviors. We just want them to show a realistic amount of behaviors that motivate us and inspire us to greater levels. A fourth personality profiling instrument that you can make use of with your clients is a more recent addition to the range of profiling tools that are on the market. It's called the CLS 360 Leaders Assessment, and it's a particularly useful tool for executive coaches who are seeking to enhance their leadership skills of their clients. The difference between this instrument and the previous ones is that it is based on research that has been peer-reviewed and published. Hence, the actual survey has been quite rigorously constructed. The CLS 360 reports on leadership styles such as inspirational, coaching, and participative, while also capturing data on authoritarian, distrustful, and withdrawn behaviors that a client might be engaging in. A word about how you, as an emerging coach, can take advantage of these instruments. You can either take the training yourself to become accredited in their use, or you can team up with someone that you know who's already accredited and get them to do this part of the coaching for you. However, it must be said you don't have to use personality profiling instruments to be a great coach. Although a lot of coaches do find it very interesting to use these instruments, or any of a multitude of others, as part of the coaching process. From an executive coaching point of view, many organizations either use their own instrument or have a preferred instrument that their staff may have already completed. Any profiling that's been done within the last 12 months can be used as a basis to start the coaching discussion. In previous units, we've looked at ways to motivate our clients to make the changes they want to make in their lives. We've considered various motivational theories concerned with changing behavior, identifying cognitive needs, and arousal. Let's look at how each of these approaches can be used to motivate change in the work environment. In previous units, we've spoken of behavioral theories as being based on the stimulus-response approach, the use of carrot and stick. Hence, employees learn to behave in ways that will either get them a reward, such as their next promotion, or have them avoid punishment, such as having to stay late. However, when this system fails to deliver the expected response, their work can really drop off, and at times become negative. Therefore, the extrinsic reward must be paired with an intrinsic internal reward so that the behavior is repeated. That is, until employees want to perform the task themselves for their own internal reasons, the change will not be permanent. This is why some people, and especially children, have to be told over and over again to do something, like make their bed, clean up their room, because they haven't associated these things with an internal reward. For example, a feeling of satisfaction when their bed is made. Hence, when managers are using strategies to modify employee behavior, they must find out what the employee finds internally rewarding, and pair the external reward with the internal reward to make the change stick. As we know, each employee is different, so they're probably going to be motivated by different internal rewards. Social rewards are very powerful for those with a strong need for social acceptance and belonging. This is why the manager needs to know, from personality profiling and from talking with the employee, what rewards they find motivational. According to incentive theory, a person is more highly motivated when they have a goal to achieve, something to strive for. These incentives may be tangible, extrinsic, or intangible, intrinsic. And what we've just talked about is that intrinsic incentives work best in the long run. If it happens that an intrinsic reward is replaced with an extrinsic reward, this is unfortunate, in that this often extinguishes the desirable behavior. Hence, for example, if an employee stays late of his own accord to finish a report because there's a deadline to be met, but the next time this happens, the manager offers to give him an afternoon off if he stays to finish it off. Of course, he's going to angle for a little something extra each time there's a future deadline to be met. Another important point is that the effectiveness of the extrinsic reward tends to diminish over time, because employees start to expect greater incentives for higher performance. So the afternoon off might have to become the day off to incentivize the employment to stay late next time. So you can see that the use of rewards for incentivizing performance in the workplace is fraught with traps for the unwary manager. As an alternative way of getting employees to improve their performance, Let's look at Hertzberg's model of how to do this. Hertzberg's theory shows managers exactly where they should be focusing their efforts to incentivize employees to perform better. It's not by throwing extrinsic rewards their way. As we've said, these will work for a time, but then the employee expects more and bigger rewards. Therefore, where does it stop? The answer is to focus on the intrinsic motivators that are available in the workplace. Things like the meaningfulness of the job, the clarity of job expectations, the amount of skill that's involved so employees can use their expertise, the amount of variety so they're not bored, the degree of autonomy they have in making decisions about the work, the access they have to the right information and resources, and the feedback they get from their manager about how they're doing, how they could be doing things better, and whether or not it's timely. All of these factors come into play when managers want to motivate their team. They're also some of the most significant factors of dissatisfaction in the workplace. As coaches, you may be dealing with any or all of these issues when you're coaching. This slide shows the signs and consequences of dissatisfaction in the workplace: fatigue, headaches, sweating, mental health issues, and all the rest. And the consequences can be quite dramatic for both the individual and the organization. The organization suffers from loss of performance, lateness, and absenteeism. The individual suffers by becoming withdrawn and possibly leaves the workforce. Research has shown that at any one time, at least 1/3 of the workforce is actively looking for work elsewhere. Now, let's turn to the contribution of cognitive theories of motivation to the workforce. We're familiar with McClelland's theory about people's needs for achievement, affiliation, and power. Here's how this theory is applicable in the workplace. The NAC person seeks achievement, attainment of realistic but challenging goals, and advancement in the job. There's a strong need for feedback as to achievement and progress, and a need for a sense of accomplishment. The NAPHIL person has a need for friendly relationships and is motivated towards interaction with other people. The affiliation drive produces motivation and a need to be liked and held in popular regard. These people are team players, but might not always make the best leaders. The NPOW person is driven by a need to be influential, effective, and to make an impact. There's a strong need to lead and for their ideas to prevail. There's also motivation and a need toward increasing personal status and prestige. They too may not make the best leaders. Hence, knowing what an employee's primary motivation is will help the manager determine what rewards to put in place so as to fulfill this need. For example, a person with a need for achievement will value being given the resources and information to complete the report on time. Then just leave them alone to get on with it. A person with a need for affiliation will value talking with colleagues about the report before they put it together, and will give credit to members of the team. A person with a need for power will want to divide up sections of the report for others to complete, then pull it all together, often under their own name. Now, let's look at arousal theories of motivation. Arousal theories go a little further than looking at factors like poor working conditions, work overload, and time pressure. They consider aspects relating to the job and the organization. In terms of the individual, they look at whether the job requirements are clear, whether there are any conflicts in the team or across divisional boundaries, whether the employee has been passed over for promotion or promoted beyond their level of competence. They look at relationships at work between colleagues, managers, and supervisors, and consider aspects relating to decision-making, delegation, and office politics. So you can see that as a coach, all these additional factors could be contributing to the client's situation and needs. Finally, the concept of goal setting is firmly set in the realm of arousal theory. Setting goals is the ultimate way for employees to be motivated, especially when they achieve them. This is why managers should take the time, not just at the annual review, to sit down with their employees and together set out their goals for the forthcoming period. In organizations, this might coincide with the quarterly reporting period. We know from research that goals which are written down, specific in how they're to be measured and achieved, are often achieved much faster than the specified date. It seems that once activated, the mind tends to get on the front foot, so that every action an employee takes from that moment on contributes to the faster attainment of the goals. The last point on this slide is important. If there's a goal to be achieved which involves the cooperation of other people, then careful thought should be given to the best way of obtaining this, in order to guarantee a successful outcome. Similarly, if resources need to be obtained, for example, a budget allocation. In these next 4 slides, we're going to look at how managers can best empower their teams, considering various factors relating to the work itself, the organization, the managers, the team, and how people work together. In relation to the work itself, the work should be meaningful and significant to the individual and/or team. There must be clear and achievable objectives aligned with the goals of the organization which impact the team. There must be realistic timelines to achieve the task that has been set for the employee. And the employee must have the authority to make decisions within agreed limits in relation to the task. All the resources sufficient to complete the task to the required standard must be made available to the employee. We'll have more on this in the webinar. In relation to the organization, it should have policies and procedures specifying who has access to what level of information and resources. Are they followed? What's the consequence of breaking them? The leadership team should convey the organizational goals to their divisions, so that the goals can get translated into divisional and team goals, which are within the capability of each team to achieve. How are they communicated and reported on? Is there a system to let employees know of any changes? The organization should have generic communication systems in place to keep employees and other stakeholders informed of developments. Who monitors? Who manages? Does this system work? More on this in the webinar. In relation to managers, they should convey the divisional goal to their team and either work with the team to divide up the load or allocate tasks according to their people's skills and expertise. They should value the diversity within their team and make allowances if necessary, but not to the detriment of other employees. Once the tasks have been set and they're confident that everyone has the information and resources to do the job, they should step back and monitor the overall situation, not micromanage. We'll have more on this in the webinar. In relation to the team, it should be as well informed of the situation and goals to be achieved as possible. If there are hidden agendas, cliques, or groups within the team, these may have a disruptive influence on the overall harmony of the effort. The manager must ensure that the team shares its information and resources collectively and specifically to those who need them. Team members should support each other from a basis of mutual respect, knowing that if one team member fails, they all may go down as a result. And all team members must be committed to the project and achieving the goals. Otherwise, they'll let down their teammates and colleagues. More on this in the webinar. Finally, a word about managing performance. Performance that you want to be repeated so that it occurs time and time again should be recognized when it occurs or as soon as possible after the event. This reinforces the performance, lets the employee know they're on the right track, and motivates them to continue doing good work. In terms of showing your appreciation for a job well done, choose the right method according to the individual's preferences. If an employee is mainly introverted, he may value a personal word from the manager on the side. In contrast, if an employee is socially inclined, he would value the public recognition for a job well done. It's important to know how and when employees want to be appreciated. Embarrassing someone in public will not bring about the desired effects, quite the opposite. Exceptional performance, however, such as a project completed ahead of time without a hitch and 20% under budget, should always be recognized in a public way. However, if the team leader is a very private person, the manager should inform him in advance so he's prepared for the public acclaim. An extrovert won't mind taking the spotlight immediately. When it comes time to review how a project is going or an individual performance, here are some tips for managers. Provide feedback on a continuing basis, not just at the annual review. Provide immediate feedback whenever possible. Be specific and descriptive. Focus only on those things that can be changed. Adjust feedback to individual needs. Focus on achievement rather than errors. Don't mix positive with negative feedback. Ensure feedback is always constructive. That's all for now. We'll look at the application of these concepts to coaching in the webinar. In the next video, you'll learn about how to communicate effectively and assertively from a personal perspective. See you then.